With time, probability increases, probability of something occurring. And it's funny, there's been a few people in the public eye at the moment that have gone through sort of mental, cognitive decline. They've experienced bipolar and schizophrenia and things like that. I just wonder if one of these individuals who has these nuclear weapons, these 9 men around the world, if they had some kind of cognitive issue, could they in their delirium or whatever, without anybody being able to stop them, tell their army to launch nuclear weapons? And their army would follow those orders.
Don't you need 2 people to turn the key?
They're following orders.
They're following orders.
I think that your question, the answer might be yes. I think the answer is actually yes.
And what's interesting is, like, there are certain countries' nuclear arsenals that we don't know about. Now, I happen to get my information on the most current nuclear weapon systems from the Federation of American Scientists, has a group of people led by a man named Hans Christensen that lead a group called the Nuclear Notebook. And they gather the most current information that can possibly be known by anyone and prepare it for the rest of us to read. And it changes every year, and they do a phenomenal job. But for example, they will tell you that we don't really know much about Pakistan's nuclear command and control. We simply don't know. We don't know much about India's nuclear command and control.
Is Russia's command and control, when I was in the silo at least, was still decentralized, which gave almost autonomous launch decision to the commanders at the silos themselves.
What does that mean?
So in the United States, it takes a validated order to clear a computer system before the controlling officers can launch the system.
So the president has got to say launch, and then
he gives an actual validation code that gets carried in the nuclear notebook. And then any system that validates the same code is now armed to launch. Nobody can just launch.
So the president has what's called sole authority. He doesn't ask permission of anyone, not his SecDef, not the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It's his alone. He may ask their advice, but it's his decision. He reads in the black book of the inside of the football.
What's the football?
So the football is that satchel that goes around with the president 24/7, 365, also the vice president. Inside of that is a black book. That's what it's nicknamed. It's called the black book, I was told, because it involves so much death. And inside of that are predetermined strikes for all of our enemies or adversaries who might ever launch against us. So it's not a decision-making. They're not sitting around, okay, here's what happened. What do you think we should do? It's, do you want to choose A, B, or C? And do you want to go with subset D, E, F, or Q? It was once described by a man who carried that football as comparable to a Denny's menu.
Each of those line items, I'm going to give it to you in painful detail. Each of those line items is followed by an authentication code. And the authentication code is then put into the football. That authentication code is then sent to every nuclear-capable site across the United States and any nuclear-capable sites in Europe. The authentication code will only work to authenticate with missiles that have the predetermined target set that was in the black book. Now, the emergency action message, the EAM, that is received by the missile crew, they can't determine what it means. They just get a message, an encrypted message. Then they turn it and then they check the authentication code against a bank of authentication codes that they're given every morning. A whole new bank that recycles, that changes every morning. If the 2 codes match, only the system knows. The crew does not know. And then the crew will follow the action steps of an authenticated message. And then part of those action steps literally include unlocking a safe, pulling out a plastic wrapped piece of paper that you crack open, and then from within that piece of plastic, you crack out another code. And that code is a specific arming code that will arm the weapon system that you are at. And then you go through the whole that's a huge checklist of items until you get the checklist item that says insert your keys and the checklist item where you have the commander of the capsule count to 3, and then you both turn your keys. You're just following orders. You're the whole time.
Did you ever turn your key?
We turn our keys probably 5 or 7 times a week. Because EAMs are always coming through, and we never know what they say.
EAMs?
The emergency action message.
So they've set that system up so that you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
You're just following orders.
There can be nobody who's...
It's like a firing squad where everyone's shooting, but you don't know who shoots the fatal bullet.
Yep.
And by the way, everything that he just described can happen, not always, but in as little as 60 seconds.
Yeah, we're timed.
And the terrible joke is they don't call them Minutemen. That's the ICBMs for nothing.
Based on everything you know, do you think that if Russia launched a nuclear weapon now, do you think the US would respond?
Not even a question.
But do you think they would even know? Do you not think the president, for
Not even a
example, would
question.
think,
Not even a question.
Really?
Not even a
Do you
question.
not think they would think it was something else? I mean, there's been times in history where they thought maybe that's something else. Maybe we've made a mistake. They hesitate.
I think that your question is valid because it's not truly instantaneous. There are interceptors, there are countermeasures, there are second and third order